Erev Tov Rabotai, we're continuing with our Mishna Yomi Masechet Peah. We're up to Perek Vav Mishnah Zayin. We learned previously there are two types of shicha. One type of shicha is the actual bundle of cut grain that you forgot in the field. Another type of shicha is if you left uncut standing grain. The Mishnah is going to teach us now, just like there is a 2 se'ah limit, that if it's over 2 se'ah, it's not considered shicha by the bundles of grain, the cut grain. There's also a 2 se'ah limit by standing uncut grain. If there is a section of standing grain, standing right next to each other, with no harvested stalks between them, that it contains the volume of 2 se'ah and one forgot to harvest it, and not shicha, it is not shicha, because again, just like there is a 2 se'ah limit for forgotten bundles, there is a 2 se'ah limit for forgotten uncut stock. Now the Rambam, they say, holds that it has to be 2 se'ah just of the kernels, whereas they bring the grasses, it could be 2 se'ah, even the straw and the other parts of the stock that is not the kernels. Now the Rab explains how do we know, just like by bundles, if it's over 2 se'ah, you keep it, it's not shichat, that it applies to standing uncut grain as well. And the Rab says, shichat kama shichat omer. We learn out if a person forgot uncut grain from if a person forgot bundles. Ma omer sheyesh bo satayim eno shicha. Just like by the bundles, if it has 2 se'ah or more, it's not considered shicha. Av kama sheyesh bo satayim eno shicha. So too the standing grain, if it has more than 2 se'ah, it's not shicha. V'shichat kama yafinan amikra dichtiv. How do we even know if a person left uncut grain that he has to leave it there? Dichtiv, it says v'shachachta omer basadeh. You left your bundle in the field. Why you have to say in the field? We already said we're talking about a field earlier in the psukim. Lerabot shichat kama. It comes to include even something you left in the field, like the standing uncut grain. The Mishnah continues now to explain an interesting case. Let's say the uncut grain, the standing crop, it does not contain 2 se'ah of kernels or of the whole produce, but it would have been fit to produce 2 se'ah had it been thicker or better quality. The Mishnah says it is not shicha, and it's going to explain now what the case is. Afilu hi shel tofach, even if it is poor quality barley that was left uncut, right, and it is as thin and scrawny as a certain type of grass pea, which the Rab brings down. It's a bean-like plant with very scrawny seeds, which means basically the barley had been beaten by destructive winds that stunt its growth. It was very scrawny. So the Mishnah says, we view it as it contains full-sized barley kernels, meaning the Rab explains, we assess how large the stunned kernels would have been had they developed normally. And the Mefarshim bring down, since the grain is still standing, it's uncut, and it can continue to grow, we view it as large as it possibly could become. A bundle of cut grain, the bundle that you left in the field that was already cut, it can no longer grow. Therefore, we look at the actual size if it's 2 se'ah or not. But this uncut grain, first of all, the Mishnah teaches us that if there was an outside factor like the weather that minimized the growth of the kernel, we view it as if it would have been regular weather, how much it would have grown. And also, plus, since it's still standing and it could still grow, we view it as the maximum amount that it could grow. Therefore, if these kernels would contain 2 se'ah, if they would have been full size, it is not considered shicha. So again, Rabotai, the Mishnah is telling us a case where you have standing grain. In actuality, it's not 2 se'ah, it's very skinny kernels, but if, because of the bad weather, if it would have been good weather, and since it's still standing, if it would keep growing, if it would reach the level of 2 se'ah in produce, in either the kernels or even the straw, according to the Gra, we see it as if now it is already the size of 2 se'ah, and therefore it is not considered shicha. That is the end, Rabotai, of Mishnah Zayin. Mishnah Chet now, we learned previously in chapter 5, Mishnah Bet 2, that if standing grain is overlooked and not harvested, but it's very close to the next section of the field. If you remember, we spoke about if its tip is bent over to the other standing grain and you're able to grab it all with one hand and cut it in one motion. And we said it's not considered shicha even though it was overlooked. The Mishnah is going to explain. If you have standing grain nearby by a bundle or by another standing grain, it prevents it from becoming shicha, meaning, Rabotai, again, the Rab explains, Im shachach kama, if a person forgot standing grain, he forgot to cut it, and its tips were connected to another standing grain that you didn't forget about, זאת הקמה שלא שכחה, מצלת על הקמה שכוחה מחוברת אליה ולא אביה שכחה. The one that's standing that you didn't forget about saves the one that's connected to it that you forgot about. Right? If a farmer forgot to collect a bundle of grain or to harvest some stalks, but the forgotten bundle or stalks are very close to the unharvested part of the section, they are not considered shikha, even if it's a bundle next to it, right? The presence of the standing grain prevents the forgotten bundle next to it or the forgotten uncut grain next to it from becoming shikha. However, if you have an uncollected bundle of grain that was next to standing grain or another bundle that you forgot about, it does not prevent it from becoming shikha. Meaning, you have standing grain that you forgot to harvest, or you have a bundle of grain that you forgot to take, and next to it is a bundle of grain that you remembered about. That bundle of grain that you remembered will not prevent these other two from becoming shikha. And the Rav explains, again, if you have a bundle that was forgotten or standing grain that was forgotten, nearby it you have another bundle that wasn't forgotten, the bundle will not save the other bundle that you forgot about and the standing grain that you forgot about. So the Mishnah basically was telling us that standing uncut grain will save the bundle next to it or the uncut grain that you forgot about next to it, but the actual bundle will not save another bundle that you forgot about or another standing grain that you forgot about. And the Mishnah now says, what kind of standing grain is able to save the other uncut or the other bundle? What's the measurement? What kind of standing grain prevents the bundle from becoming forgotten? Any standing grain that not itself it's not shikha itself, meaning you remember about it, even if it is only a single stalk and you remembered about it, and next to it you have a bundle that you forgot or uncut grain that you forgot, even if it's one stalk, the one you remembered, it saves it from becoming shikha. And the Mefarshim explain, it doesn't have to be complete unharvested in an entire section. Even a single stalk of grain that was not harvested yet, as long as you remembered it, it is able to save, meaning you're able to harvest it, it's able to save any bundle uncut grain next to it from becoming shikha. That is the end of today's Mishna Yomi, Rabotai. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen v'amen.